Hey, paranormal story time. This one is a glitch in the matrix story, and this happened about 12 years ago at the first house that my husband and I bought together. And on this particular night, I am in our master bedroom doing my clothes. He's on his way home from work. And of course, all of a sudden I hear the kitchen door open, because here's the garage, right? Here's the kitchen. So we always park in the garage, go through the kitchen, right? So I hear the kitchen door open, and I put my clothes down. I walk out of the master bedroom into our kitchen. I stand on this side of the peninsula. He walks in through the door. He stands on this side of the peninsula. And I'm like, hey, how was your day? What are you doing tonight? You know, any plans? And he's like, yeah, day was great, but I'm going to the grocery store, so do you need anything? And I said, yeah, actually I do. I need this and I need this. He said, cool. Grabbed his keys, walked out the door, said he'd be back in a minute. And cool. I go back to our master bedroom, start doing my clothes again. And not even 5 minutes later, I hear the kitchen door open. So I'm like, I bet he forgot something. So I did the same thing again. I walked from our master bedroom into the kitchen, stood on this side of the peninsula. He came in through the kitchen door. He stood on this side of the peninsula. And I'm fully expecting him to be like, oh, you know, I forgot my water or my sunglasses or something to that effect. But he does not. And I said, what are you doing? Did you forget something? And he's like, what? I'm like, you were just in here. Like, did you forget something? He's like, no. I just got home from work. How was your day? I just need to go to the grocery store. Do you need anything? I'm like, huh? You were just in here like 5 minutes ago and you asked me this. And he was like, no, I wasn't. I just got home from work and I need to go to the grocery store. Do you need anything? And I'm like, wait, what? Like, yeah, I need this and this, but hang on. Like, what? No, you were just in here and we just had the same conversation. And he was like, no, we did not. He said, I was in the car, parked the car, just got home, came inside, and now you're asking me all these questions. I'm like, yeah. No, okay, so apparently to him, this only happened once. According to me, it happened twice. He still remembers this, and I still swear that it happened twice. I even went to the lengths to go back to my bedroom and think, okay, did I actually walk this hallway and come into the kitchen, or did I just think it, right? Like, now my mind's playing tricks on me. Did I imagine this? Did I envision this? Like, no. According to me, it happened twice. According to him, it happened once. That's a glitch in the matrix. We still to this day cannot agree on what actually happened, because he has his version and I have my version, right? At the end of the day, he goes to the grocery store. He gets the two things that I needed. He comes home. Life proceeds as normal. Like nothing ever happened. Nothing ever glitched. I don't know. But it glitched on my end. That's for sure. I know what happened. I know I talked to him. A physical person, not an apparition. He was very much real. But I have many more of those, and I'll be sharing them too. Hope you liked it. Okay, love you, bye. Hey y'all, paranormal glitch in the matrix story time. Now, y'all loved my other glitch in the matrix story so much that I'm gonna go ahead and do this one. It was pretty recent anyways. So this took place about a year ago, and here are the exact earrings that this happened with, right? So I was getting ready to go to a swim meet with both of my daughters. Now, I had already put my clothes on. I had already put my hair up. Note that my hair was up, so there's nothing to get tangled, right? Now, the last thing I always do as part of getting ready is put my earrings in. Now, I want you to also note that I've had these earrings for about 6 or 7 years now, at least at a minimum. And I loved them so much that I really wanted to get secure backs for them. So I got these when I got the earrings. Now, note that the backs here are, girls, you're going to know what I'm talking about, are the metal things like this that you can push these little curls in and it makes it tighter. So it's that plus a little gummy thing around it. So it's like super secure. It's a double duty, right? Because I need those for my beloved earrings. I wear these almost every single day, and I have for about 6 or 7 years. So I'm getting ready, right? I put these in. Let me show you how I put my earrings in. I do this the same exact way every time. I have for years and years and years. I can't ever remember not doing this because I want to make sure my earrings don't fall out, right? So I put my stud in, right? Make sure it goes in the hole. I flip it around, make sure it's actually in the hole, right? And then I put my back on. I squeeze it on and I flip that over too to make sure it's in my ear, it's secure, it's on there. And I give it a little tug, right? Not going anywhere. Cool. Did the same thing to the other side, right? And then boom, it's in. Walk out the door, get my kids. We go to the natatorium, right? Like the indoor swimming pool. And when we get there, we see some friends. We're standing talking to them. And I feel something hit my shoulder and hear something fall on the floor, just like a small, So I look down and there's an earring that looks just like mine. And I'm like, So I bend down and pick it up. And I was shocked. My first thought was, I have a gaping hole in my ear, because that was the only, as irrational as it was, that was the only thing that made sense, because I was so sure that I knew what I did. My earring was not going to fall out, right? Let me show you what I picked up off of the floor. Okay? I picked this up off the floor. So, right, my first thought was, I have a gaping hole in my ear. Then I think, or I have a third earring. Like somebody else, no. And then I feel my ear and there's not an earring there. So how did I go from this being in my ear, totally secure, to it coming out of my ear and reassembling itself, right? It's kind of hard to push on. And then me picking it up like this. My husband and I still cannot agree on this. Like, to this day, I spent that whole swim meet, like, flabbergasted, shocked. I could not let this go. I'm like, how does this happen? How does it happen? Realistically, nothing can explain this, right? And my husband was like, well, obviously you didn't put it on well enough. It was just, hanging on by like this right here. The post didn't actually go in your ear hole. And I'm like, but it did. I checked this one and I checked this one, right? This is the left one is the one it happened in. I flipped it over to see that I would have been able to see, y'all, if the post was down here, because it would not have survived this flip. It would have come off this way, because I've done that before. And no, it was in my ear and it survived the flip, not once but twice, right? So no, that's not an explanation. So what is? There was not a gaping hole in my ear. Nothing from the time I left the house to the time I got to the natatorium touched my ear. My hair was up. My purse didn't hit it. Nothing hit my face or my ear. This one still puzzles me, right? Just because I'm a medium and I do this professionally doesn't mean I have all the answers. But I want to know what you think, because this one's a doozy and I still think about it to this day. Nothing like this has happened since, in the year since. Nothing happened before this happened a year ago. But yeah, what do you think about this? I don't know. Has anything like this ever happened to you? Hope you like this one. Love you. Bye.
When I was 14, my prison pen pal sent me $500 to buy my very first car. We had started writing when I was 14 after my mom died. My dad put my name on some friendship books that went all over the world for looking for pen pals, and it somehow reached him in Pendleton Prison. His name was Donald Locke, and we wrote for about 5 years, and we were very, very close. We talked on the phone, we exchanged pictures and poetry, and we wrote letters constantly. My dad and I weren't close. He was a very distant man, so Donald became the dad that I had wished I had. At the time, I was being groomed by a family member and SA as well, and Donald was a light in the darkness back then. He gave me the courage to get out of that situation, and I'll forever be thankful for that. He told me at the time that he was in prison for life. He said that he stabbed a woman with scissors when she came at him with scissors, and it was self-defense, and it was an accident, and he was convicted of life in prison. That's all he said, and I didn't have any way of looking up anything different back then. It was 1989, and so I just believed him. When I turned 16, he sent me $500 to buy my very first car, and that's all it cost, was $500 in 1990. So I always appreciated him, and we lost contact around the time I was 20 or 21. We lost contact, and I've always thought about him and wondered if he's okay. And so back when Orange is the New Black was really big, me and my daughter were really into that show. And so I told my daughter that I had a prison pen pal when I was a teenager, and he sent me $500. And she was like, she was in disbelief, and how could a prisoner find $500 to send to some girl? And I was like, have you seen Orange is the New Black? They have jobs in there and they can get money. So it got me thinking, and so I looked him up, and I found an article that it had like 5 or 6 chapters to it. And it talked all about what happened to him. He was sent to an orphanage when he was 3 and went through a lot of abuse, and he raped his first woman when he was 15 years old, and he did 8 years in prison, several SA crimes. And the reason he's in prison is because he SA and stabbed the woman with scissors. Her name was Nina Wallace, and she fought back. She fought him, and he ended up killing her with the scissors. And he was caught. After that, she had an envelope with his name on it because he had just bought a refrigerator from her, and she wrote his name on an envelope, and that the police found it and tied him to it. And so he was convicted and serving life without parole. No, not without parole. He's serving life. He's come up for parole several times, but he won't plead guilty. He won't admit it and show remorse for the rape. He admits to killing her, but he won't admit the rest of it. So they won't let him out. If you look up Donald Locke now, you'll find him up in Pendleton Correctional Facility. And there's another article out there about him being disabled and suing the prison for not being accessible. Ugh. So, but that article you have to pay to read, so I haven't read it. Anyway, I've often thought about writing him, but I haven't done that yet because of what I read. I really don't need more to talk about it. Therapy. So anyway, that's my story.
Disney College Program horror story. My roommate didn't shower, argued on the phone with her boyfriend constantly, and then invited random men back to our apartment every single day. Keep watching if you're interested. This roommate, we're just going to call her Nani. And we're going to call her Nani because this bitch was obsessed with Stitch. When Nani moved in, my old roommate had moved out maybe like 4 weeks prior. Me and my old roommate, we weren't like best friends, but like we were cool. So I was pretty open to a new roommate because I'm like, okay, like me and my old roommate were cool. Like I never had like a bad roommate during my program. So I was not ready for the shitstorm that Nani was about to bring to my life. So Nani moved into our apartment when I was at work. So when I came back, I just saw her stuff in the room, which was cool because I knew that somebody was going to be moving in on that day. There are two things I noticed immediately about a room when I came back from work. One, there was a shit ton of stitch crap everywhere, and two, it smelled bad. If I was to describe the smell, it smelled like, you know when like you come back from the gym, like that sweaty smell, but like, or maybe like old gym clothes, like that sweat smell that's also like just been sitting out. But that's the scent I noticed. And honestly, at first, I thought maybe it was my laundry, because so I was a character attendant at Epcot, and I sweat a lot. Like, I know that about myself. That's why I'm like constantly washing clothes. So I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, oh my God, how fucking embarrassing. Like, I haven't washed, like, my clothes need to be washed and they're stinking up the room when the new girl's here. So I instantly throw all my shit in the washer, like washing like as much as I can, and that smell won't go away. I'm finally like, maybe it's her, but I didn't want to assume anything. I was like, let me wait till I actually meet her. I didn't meet Nani until the following day, and yeah, she did have a slight smell, but that's okay, because at first I'm thinking, oh, this is like a sweet girl. The first thing I noticed about Nani was that I thought that she was like way younger than me. For context, I did my program in my mid-20s, so I was used to being like on the older side. And again, with the smell, I was thinking, oh, maybe this is like her first time away from home, and she just doesn't know how to like wash properly. And that was like semi-confirmed when I met her. For context, and again, I'm not saying this to like judge her outfit because me and my fashion sense are all over the place. So I'm not saying this to judge her. But when I first met her, one thing I noticed was that she was dressed like a teenager, but from like 2017, 2018. Like that's how I instantly knew, one, that she was from the Northeast because the style was giving very Northeast, but it was also giving 2017 Northeast. She was wearing like a crop top, like a cropped bustier. Okay, what is it, like a crop top? And then like super duper high booty shorts. Her stomach was out. She had like a belly button ring. And she was also wearing Mickey ears. But I knew she was going to the park because she had just came yesterday, and unless she had like an annual pass or something, which I knew she didn't because she was from the Northeast. Why do you have a annual pass? But whatever. I was just like, okay, this is giving like teenager that's like super excited to come to Disney for the first time. To my fucking surprise, me and her start talking, and come to find out, this girl's older than me. She's also slightly more experienced, but not experienced, and we're gonna get to that later. While we're talking, I noticed a slight smell, but I'm like, it's not that big of a deal to me, mainly because when I was in college, I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but my second college roommate, she did not shower at all, and that shit like permeated throughout our room. And I remember at one point, like our RA thought we had drugs in the room, and so like our room was like about to be ransacked. I don't know, that's like a side story. Let me know if you want that story. It was like a whole thing. But yeah, so I'm like, I've had roommates that don't shower before, and my roommate that didn't shower, she was mad cool. So I'm like, oh, me and this girl can be cool. We're talking like back and forth, and I'm kind of realizing like, okay, me and this girl, we can be cool, we can be cordial, but I don't think me and her would be friends. Like she's not someone I would befriend like in everyday life, just like from the vibes of the conversation, but she's someone I could be cool with. For context, my previous roommate, the one before her, she was mad cool, but I think just because of how I am, like my job wasn't stressful, it was just socially a lot. So when I would come home, like I didn't want to talk to nobody except like on off days where I'm like, you know what, I'm feeling like hella social, let me like talk my roommate's ear off. And my roommate kind of like, my first roommate, she was like cool. She like went with it. She was like, oh, like you're in a talking mood today. All right, let's talk tonight. She was like, oh, you don't want to be talked to, so I'm gonna leave you alone. But yeah, me and her kind of fell into that synergy, and maybe it was my mistake thinking that me and this new roommate, Nani, were gonna fall into the same thing. So boom, time goes by. Not even like a crap ton of time, because I want to say it was like the first night after meeting her, she was like on the phone with her boyfriend, like arguing down. Mind you, I had like where was I? I had to have been like an 8 a.m. shift with Daisy. No, I had like a 9 a.m. shift with Donald the next day. And if you know anything about Epcot and Mexico Donald, girl, I was not looking forward to being Donald's attendant that day. Like if you know anything about it. So I need my beauty rest. I kid you the fuck not. It is like 2 in the fucking morning. She comes back from wherever the fuck she was, and she's on the phone talking to her boyfriend like about her day. Mind you, I am not a bitch. I get it. Your boyfriend is back in the Northeast. Like, you want to chit chat with him and talk, like, cool. But it's 2 a.m. She, like, turned all the lights on, and she just starts talking loudly and, like, playing videos, like, for him. Let me say, this is probably where I fucked up. It never occurred to me to have a conversation with her about, like, roommate etiquette. Because I feel like it's just, like, at least at the time, I felt like certain things don't need to be established. Like, hey, if you're coming home at like 2 a.m, maybe don't like call your boyfriend on speaker and play loud ass videos for him if you see your roommate sleeping because it's 2 a.m. And I'm not like opposed to like people moving around at night. That's not the issue. Like, for example, my roommate before her, she was a lifeguard, and she would get back at like 12 a.m. And so she would like come in, she would turn the light on, she would like bumble around, like she would take a shower, she would do this, she would do that. But she's not on the phone like loud as hell, like da 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 da. Like, she's like getting like stuff ready for the next day. Like, I'm not gonna be a bitch about that, but I am gonna be slightly annoyed when it's 2 a.m, you're on the phone with your boyfriend, loud as hell. Like, just, it was annoying. But so I like got up and I was like, can you please go into the living room? Like, can you please go into the living room? And I don't know what I expected her response to be. I thought she would just get up and go into the living room, but she was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, hung up the phone, turned the light off, and like put the cover over her head. And I was like, am I? Like, I felt like a bitch. I was like, oh my God, I did not think that would be her reaction. I thought she would just go into the living room. And I swear to God, I said it as nice as possible. Well, as nicely as I can after being awoken from my sleep. So I'll say that. But yeah, she like threw the blanket over her head, like went to sleep. Boom, whatever. Next day rolls around. Mind you, I'd say it's like we're on day 3 or 4 at this point. Hasn't showered once. And I'm not shower watching, but like I'm noticing. She also has some other like disgusting habits that I'm picking up on that is also like kind of just not like jiving with me. This video is getting kind of long, so I'm gonna cut it short. Let me know if you want part 2. Disney college program horror story. My roommate didn't shower, argued on the phone with her boyfriend constantly, and then invited random men back to our apartment. Part 2. You can go look on my page for part 1 if you found part 2 but didn't watch part 1. My new roommate moved in, and instantly I realized that this bitch does not shower. She dresses like it is 2017, and she's older than me. For context, during this story, I'm in my mid-20s, and I was typically on the older side of the DCP. Granted, you can be any age and do the DCP, but typically most people who do it are in their late teens, early 20s. My roommate, like I said, she was older than me, and she was 28. For the purposes of this story time, we're calling her Nani because this bitch was super obsessed with Stitch. So after me and Nani had our initial interaction where I asked her if she could kindly shut the fuck up because it is 2 a.m. and I don't want to hear her arguing on the phone with her boyfriend because I have to go to work the next morning, I felt like a bitch. Granted, I didn't say it like that, but her reaction kind of made me feel bad. We had a conversation the next day about it, like, you know, just about boundaries and like when she could talk on the phone in the room at like a reasonable hour, because I wasn't opposed to her like talking on the phone in the room like at all. I just meant like, hey, if it's like past a certain hour, like can we like not do that? Can we establish some sort of quiet hours? Which was slightly jarring to me because, again, before Nani moved in, that wasn't an issue in our apartment. We were all pretty courteous and mindful about each other's spaces. I think the only issue we had was just like doing the dishes and taking out the garbage, like normal roommate shit. Me and Nani didn't have any other issues at that point after that. And she started to become close with one of our other roommates. For context, me and Nani lived in a 2x2. So we shared a room, and then in the same apartment, there were 2 other girls that shared a room. We're going to call the girl that Nani got close with Tia. Tia was, I believe, either 19 or 20, and her and Nani became like thick as thieves. Me and Tia had lived in the apartment together for about like 4 months with our old roommates, my roommate and her roommate, before both those girls moved out, like around the same time. I'd say me and Tia were in the apartment together, like just us, for like 2 weeks, but me and her never really got close. And the reason me and Tia never got close was primarily because like I said, I was in my mid-20s and she was like late teens, early 20s. There was just not much at the time I thought we could have in common. That's why I never went out of my way to like befriend Tia. Except there was one incident where that kind of like opened the door. Like I said, Tia and Nani got like super close, and me and Tia were kind of like with each other. However, during like doing my DCP, I had applied to also do the Fulbright, because that just goes more into like my background. I had applied to do the Fulbright, and I had to go through my school, and I'm not going to get too much into it, but my initial like practice interview, it went so bad that I just started hysterically crying, and the only person like in the apartment was Tia. And so I just like started like venting. Poor Tia. Tia was like sitting on the couch, like watching like whatever the fuck she was watching. I came out and I was like, I need to talk to somebody. And she was mad cool. She like listened. And that kind of opened up the gate for me and Tia to get close. And once me and Tia got close, I started to give my roommate Nani a chance. Granted, at this point, Nani still was not showering. She just had like this odor to her. Like when I first met her, like I said, she smelled like kind of like old, like you just got back from the gym, but maybe you didn't do like a super duper intense workout. But then like as the days progressed, the smell just got progressively worse and worse. Like again, y'all, this is Florida, and that Florida sun, like it does not take a break. If you're a sweater, like I said, I'm a sweater, you need to be showering like constantly, or at least doing things to like lessen your funk. Except the thing Nani would do. The thing Nani would do to lessen her funk is just spray perfume, which I hate. Ladies and gentlemen, if you stink, do not just spray perfume or cologne over it, because you're just making like floral like body odor scent, and it just stinks. It makes people gag. Like, oh my god, Nani would make me gag with that. But other than that, like, she was cool. Or I would say cool enough. So like I said, at this point, me and Tia were like kind of becoming cool. And with me and Tia becoming cool, since her and Nani were so close, I was giving my roommate more of a chance. One of the few things that me and Tia found out we had in common is that we both loved Big Brother. And so the night of Ashley Hollis's win of Big Brother, I went out and told like Tia, who was hanging out in the living room with Nani, and me and Tia are just like celebrating, like, oh my god, Ashley won. Yes, girl power, black women. Yes, we love it. And Nani's like, Big Brother, what the fuck? So me, Tia, and Nani, we just like chilled in the living room. We were just talking about Big Brother. We started talking about our lives, like just kind of hanging out. And I'm like, wow, you know, even though Nani fucking stinks, like she's actually like mad cool. Like me and her could be cool. And again, I'm not trying to be like rude with like mentioning Nani's scent, but I just kind of want you to understand like where a part of the frustration was coming from initially. So in me, Tia, and Nani getting like close and cool, I started to learn more about Nani's situation. Nani told me that her boyfriend, that she argues with on the phone constantly, was a 2-time felon. Now, when I would hear Nani like argue on the phone with her boyfriend, because I didn't mention she would argue with him on speaker, so it's like I'm hearing his voice too. I'm thinking that he's like 18, 19, and like she's like some cougar. Turns out this motherfucker was older than even her. He was like in his 30s. Another kicker I learned about Nani is that she had not 1, but 2 kids. Which I want to specify, I am not judging Nani for having children or having children and doing the DCP. Sad as it is to say, well, not even sad, but like it's more common in the DCP than you think, because the qualifications are like there's no age qualification. There's no like, oh, you can't have a certain number of dependents. It's just like, no, you have to be going to college. So like I said, Nani is telling not only me, but she's also telling Tia about the situation with her boyfriend. I'm not going to disclose everything that Nani said, only because like again, this is the internet and I don't want people like trying to like find her or anything. But the shit that she was saying, me and Tia were like, what the fuck? And we gave her like any advice that you would want your like girlfriends to give you. We were like, break up with him. What the fuck? Also, to clarify before people start, her boyfriend was not the father of her kids. So there is nothing biologically tying her to this deadbeat. Nani seemed really receptive, but what I should have realized was that Nani is a bird. So after we like told Nani like, hey, you need to like, you should break up with him, he's not good for you, like you deserve better, she went and told this motherfucker everything that we said. And he was calling us all types of bitches and jealous. Jealous of what? Jealous of who? Your bitch don't shower. Let's start there, motherfucker. He was going in on us. That's why I didn't like him. He doesn't need a name. We just gonna call him Nani's boyfriend, or the nigga on the phone. Or I guess not nigga, but you know what I mean. Yet and still, I did not let this deter me for a couple reasons. One, I've had friends before that have been in situations with dudes who have been less than, and they've gone and told their boyfriend what I've said, and their boyfriend's, fuck this bitch, she's just jealous. Like, I'm used to that. Like, that wasn't my issue with her. What my issue became was that Nani began sharing a lot of things about her relationship with her boyfriend, and the situation with her kids, and I'm like, okay, well, I've already given you advice. And Tia is younger than both of us. She's in her, and like, she's 20. we're reaching the same conclusion of the only solution to this is you need to break up with this dude. Mind you, like, again, we're in Florida. This guy is back in the Northeast. He's like, they're not close. Like, to break up with him, it's nothing. But girl, she was sprung. Me and Nani are like on the road to being like friends at this point. We're cool, we talk, and I feel like we're building like a rapport. I wouldn't say that me, her, and Tia are like a trio or anything, because I wasn't hanging out with them outside of the apartment. But if they were in the apartment and they were hanging out, I would have no problem joining them. So one morning I woke up for work. I had a shift with Elsa and Anna that day because I mentioned before I was an Epcot character attendant. If you're a character attendant usually and you're a CP, just quick tea for anybody. If you're a character attendant CP and you're like Epcot, you're gonna spend like majority of your time at Frozen with Elsa and Anna or at Mickey and Friends with Mickey and his band of Raggedy Homegirls. So I'm getting up in the morning. I go out into like the common area to make my coffee. I don't have my glasses on at this point, so I'm blind as a bat. But the first thing I notice about the common area is that there are pants on the stove. I'm like, huh, that's weird. But I keep going about my morning because, like I said, I gotta go to work and I need my coffee. As I'm making my coffee, I look over to the couch and there's like a body on the couch. I'm thinking in my head it's Tia because Tia has like passed out on the couch before, so I didn't really think much of it. As I'm like fixing like my coffee or whatever, all I hear is a voice say, hello. I look over and why do I see somebody that's not one of my 3 roommates on the couch? This video is getting kind of long, so I'll continue in part 3 if you guys want it, but yeah, till next time. Disney College Program horror story. My roommate didn't shower, argued on the phone with her boyfriend constantly, and then invited random men back to our apartment. Part 3. So I apologize if you guys hear background noise. It is Father's Day and my grandfather is celebrating on the back deck. All of his friends and people and family are parked out front, so I had to park in the driveway, so you're probably gonna hear them. But I didn't film part 3 yesterday because I was having fun, so I figured I'd just get it to you guys today. Quick recap to those just joining us. We've been calling my old roommate Nani because this bitch was like super obsessed with Stitch. Like literally Stitch was all over her side of the room. In part 2, I let you guys know that not only was Nani older than me, she was 28, Nani also had 2 kids, and the boyfriend she was arguing with on the phone constantly was not a 1 but 2-time felon. The only reason I ended up giving Nani a chance was because of our other roommate Tia, who Nani had gotten super close with. Where we last left off, I was getting ready for work, came out into the common area to make my coffee, and saw somebody who was not one of my 3 roommates laying on my couch, bundled up in my fucking blanket. So the person that was laying on my couch was not somebody that was unfamiliar to me. What was unfamiliar was them sleeping on my couch. About 2 weeks prior to me finding this person on my couch, I had come home from work and wanting to fucking decompress and relax, I go into my room and Nani is there, but Nani's not alone. Nani is with another person we're just gonna call Gaz. Gaz was Nani's co-worker, and I say co-worker and not friend because Nani constantly let it be known that she did not like this bitch. Yet and still, my first introduction to her is her in our room with her legs on my bed. If you don't know how a 2x2 looks at Flamingo, I'm going to explain it to you. So you come into the apartment, you have A unit and B unit. Me and Nani lived in A unit. So say you walked in A unit, you would first come into the door, you would have your sinks. Back further, you would have the bathroom, which had the toilet and the shower. And then on the right-hand side was the door into the bedroom. In the bedroom, there are obviously 2 beds because we were sharing a room together, but you would have my bed, then you'd have a section divider, and then on the other side was Nani's bed. However, the section divider only covers like the first half of the beds. Me and Nani's beds were like touching at the ends. And before people ask, yes, when I first moved into the apartment, this is before Nani moved in. When I first moved in, I had tried to change like how the beds was set up so our beds weren't touching, but Disney is strict. That bed wasn't going nowhere for nobody. So I come back to the apartment. Nani's friend Gaz she's laid on Nani's bed, but the way her legs are touching my bed. And at this point, I don't know this bitch. And also, I forgot to mention, she's still in her work uniform. They worked at a food service location. I won't say where, but they worked food service, and I've worked food service in the past, so I know that's like, you get real dirty and mucky doing that. So I'm like, why are your legs on my bed? I was upset, but I was trying not to be like a bitch about it, because me and Nani had a conversation when me and her started to get cool about like what our issues were with each other. And I just mentioned to Nani, like, she just has no concept of how to be a roommate. And Nani was like, yeah, I don't have a concept of how to be a roommate because you're my first roommate. And I was shocked, because I'm like, again, Nani is 28, older than me, 2 kids, crazy ass boyfriend, 1 or 2 baby daddies. I'm like, what do you mean you've never had like a roommate before? But you know what? Some people are blessed to just be able to live at home for their whole lives. So, you know, no judgment there. Nani also let me know that she didn't like my temperament. She didn't say temperament because Nani had like the vocabulary of like a 3rd grader. But essentially she was saying, I don't like your temperament. It's like, it unsettles her. So I was like, you know what? Cool, I'll work on it. So when I came back to the apartment and Gaz was like had her dirty ass legs on my bed, I was like, let me not like get upset, and let me not freak out, especially because me and Nani are working on being like cordial with each other. So I just went into the bathroom. I just did like my after work routine, took a shower, came back, and like properly introduced myself to Gaz. Like I said though, I hesitate to call Gaz Nani's friend because Nani constantly made it known that she did not like this girl. Like when me, Nani, and Tia would sit around and talk, like she would talk about how weird she thought Gaz was. So imagine my fucking surprise when I'm getting ready for work one morning and Gaz is like laid up on my couch, bundled up, and our blankets and shit. Like, I say my blankets, they were blankets for the entire apartment that were purchased, but these blankets are very quickly going to become Nani's. Not because she like claimed them as hers, but because Nani would lay in them too, and they would just fucking stink. They would smell like her. Needless to say, communal blankets became Nani's blankets because nobody else wanted to use them. But yeah, Gaz was laid up on the couch, and blankets she didn't put in on, just bundled up and shit. And I'm like, why are you here? So I have to leave and go to work, so I can't really like fully process Gaz being on the couch. So I leave, I go to work. After work, it's me, Tia, and Nani, and we're basically asking her like, bitch, what the fuck? Our whole issue was, if you're gonna have people stay overnight in the apartment, you need to let your roommates know, especially as you are the oldest one here. So that goes without saying. Nani's ass is all like, oh no, like you guys are right, like that bitch is so weird. Like after like I said goodnight to her, why did I hear her like rattling around in our kitchen and like cabinets opening? And I asked her like, what the fuck? Nani had a very annoying voice. When I'm like imitating her, I'm trying not to do it, but I might slip into it. But yeah, we're like, what do you mean this girl is like rifling around in our things? Like, you didn't give us a heads up that she was gonna be here. Nobody put anything up. We all just have our shit out. I think somebody had a laptop out too. And you just like have this girl, this shiesty ass girl in our apartment? Nani's all like, oh no, it's not gonna happen again. Like, that bitch is weird. Like, she's not gonna be allowed to come back here. Like, I don't even like her like that. Blah, 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 blah. Just saying a whole bunch of nothing, because that was the first time I found Nani on my couch. That would not be the last. So whatever, a couple days goes by and Tia lets us know that she is going to be terming from her program. Tia had actually extended her program, however, and I feel like a lot of CPs realize this, like the first 4 to 5 months of your program are cool, you extend, and then you get hit with like Disney fatigue. It's like difficult to describe Disney fatigue. You just have to experience it. It's one of those things like if you know, you know, and I think it's something so exclusive to CPs. Like, I don't even know if full-timers and part-timers experience it, but I think when you're a CP and you're away from home and you're like in the happiest place on earth and you realize it's not really all that happy here, you just get tired. And with Tia being 21, I think this was like her first time away from home. She was just like, I'm out of here, y'all. Which made me really sad because like I said, me and Tia had been living in the apartment before Nani had moved in, but we had just recently started getting close, so I was really sad that she was leaving. Tia leaving also removed the connection between me and Nani, because with Tia leaving, me and Nani really didn't have anything in common. We didn't have a common friend anymore. However, I still wanted to give me and Nani's friendship a chance. So I remember it was like the night before, or 2 nights before Tia left, this was my first time spending time with Nani like alone, like and hanging out. And it was during this hangout that I realized, yeah, me and Nani, we can't be friends. So I remember I asked Nani like, oh, like, do you want to like order food or anything? Like, do you want to get like alcohol? Because it's Florida, so you can get alcohol delivered. And she's like, oh yeah, I just have to ask my mom for money. You have to ask your mom for money? Huh? Like, again, I'm not trying to judge anybody who has to ask their parents for money, because I've asked like my grandparents for money like before. Like, I get it. But I asked my grandparents for money when I was in like my early 20s. And even if I ask my grandparents for money now, I don't have dependents. I also am not asking them for money to buy alcohol. We ended up getting a wine that like Nani said I would like, but I really didn't like it. I'm not much of a drinker. I don't smoke as much, but in my life, I've always been more of like a smoker of weed. I've always been more of like a weed smoker than like a drinker. So I didn't really like it. So Nani asked me like during that night, oh, do you care if I chug the whole thing and can you record it so I can post it online? And I was like, okay, girl, sure, no problem. So I recorded the video of her like chugging the wine online. Apparently like her mom saw it and was like, you drink every night. And I'm just like, girl, you know what your daughter do? You know what she was going to use this little $20 for? I think what made me realize that I really didn't want to be friends with Nani was the combination of everything with her. Like, it was the not being responsible with money, but having kids, like the excessive drinking. Because I haven't mentioned that, but Nani used to drink quite frequently. It just hasn't come up yet, but yeah, she was a drinker. That, the boyfriend, like the entitlement when it came to her mom. Mind you, Nani's mom was who was watching her kids. And I'm like, you're asking this woman for money. Like, it was just, she had a lot going on and it was too much for little old me. So boom, we hang out that night. I kind of realized that me and her can't be like close. We can't really be friends. We can work on being cordial. But as far as like a deep friendship, that's out. So Tia leaves and Nani decides for like the first time since she's moved into the apartment that she's gonna clean. I was hesitant about Nani cleaning because the only thing she had ever really cleaned was her laundry, and her laundry had this like nasty ass mildew smell to it. And I'm like, you sure you're gonna clean? Like, you can just leave the cleaning to like me and to our other roommate. But Nani wanted to clean. And so Nani was like, I'm gonna clean out the refrigerator. Cool, sure, no problem, clean out the refrigerator. Y'all, why did this bitch throw out food that I had meal prepped the night before? This story time's getting kind of long, and don't worry, there's a lot more shit that happens with Nani, but that definitely, Tia moving out and her tossing my meal prep food that I had made the night before. And this bitch had watched me make it, so I don't know why she tossed it, but yeah, we're gonna get to it. There's a lot going on at this house now. Y'all have a good night. Disney College Program horror story. My roommate didn't shower, argued on the phone with her boyfriend constantly, and then invited random men back to our apartment. Part 4. For those of you just joining us, we've been calling my old DCP roommate Nani because this bitch was obsessed with Stitch. When I last left off with you guys, I let you know that the roommate that acted as the buffer between me and Nani, Tia, had turned from her program, and with her leaving, me and Nani literally had nothing in common. I also just wasn't a fan of Nani as a person. I had mentioned before that I tried to give Nani advice on her relationship with her felon boyfriend that she seemed receptive to, and then told her boyfriend that I was talking shit about him, and then he proceeded to call me a bitch and a whore and jealous and this and that and the third. Jealous of his smelly ass girlfriend. Yeah, right. Smelly ass girlfriend with 5 articles of clothing that smell like fucking mildew. But all right, sir, we're jealous. Anyway, like I revealed in the last story time, Nani had no sense of boundaries. She had let some random girl who she didn't even like stay in our apartment and then didn't tell us. Nani also, when she was cleaning the fridge, decided she was gonna toss my meal prepped food. Y'all, she also threw out the container it was in. When I discovered Nani had thrown out my food, she wasn't in the apartment, but I needed to like say something like at that moment because I was hot. So I sent a group text message to her and our other roommate. I haven't mentioned the 4th roommate yet. I've mentioned Tia, but again, Tia moved out. Tia had a roommate who we're just gonna call D. The reason I haven't mentioned D so far in the story is because D sensed that Nani was on bullshit like the entire time. Mind you, D, I think, was also 20 when the story took place, and she could read 28-year-old Nani like to a T. But yeah, I sent a text message to Nani and D basically like being not so nice. I didn't cuss in the text or anything, but I basically was like, look, like, I appreciate people for cleaning the fridge, because she didn't even clean it. She just tossed out food. The fridge was so dirty as fuck. I still had to clean it afterwards, but I was like, I appreciate you for cleaning the fridge, whomever it was, but you tossed out food. You could have fucking asked. I didn't say fucking because I wasn't cussing, but you could have asked, like, next time, like, you need to, like, be mindful of other people and da-da-da-da-da. Nani doesn't respond, but D does. D apologizes, even though she doesn't have to, and she's like, yeah, like, my clothes are taken out of the laundry as well by Nani and her attempt to clean. Again, I don't understand Nani taking D's stuff out of the laundry because, again, Nani did not know how to wash clothes. She would wash clothes and they would smell like fucking mildew, which I don't understand, because how is this only happening to your clothes? Like, washing clothes is not complicated. Mind you, this woman had 2 kids, couldn't wash a load of laundry. But whatever, she like put D's stuff like on the couch, which, oh, that's something I forgot to mention. So the reason it was like a big deal, well, not even a big deal, but the reason like I think we were like kind of disgusted by Nani like taking clothes out of the laundry and putting them on the couch was that Nani had started sleeping on the couch. The reason she had started sleeping on the couch was because the tension between me and her had just not been the best. Even though her tossing out the food was kind of the catalyst for our relationship like fully deteriorating, I can admit I was not being the nicest to her because she just was not respecting the boundaries that I was setting. For example, I had asked her, can you please stop like talking to your boyfriend on the phone in the room during obscene hours? Do you think this bitch listened? No, she kept doing it. I recall one night I was having like a super bad anxiety attack. I was in my bed. I was crying. I was going through a lot. It wasn't because of Nani. It was because of something else. But I was just going through the emotions. Like, it was really, really hard for me. When I have anxiety, I cannot sleep. I can't think. I really can't do anything but just focus on whatever is making me anxious and cry about it. Nani came home at, I kid you not, like 4 a.m. She was not at work because this bitch was never at work, which we're going to get into. She's on the phone with her boyfriend. At this point, I'm not asleep or anything, but I'm still like, she don't know that it's 4 a.m. Why are you on the phone with your boyfriend in the room? I have the lights off, so for all she knows, I'm asleep. Whatever. She goes to bed, doesn't shower, of course. It's silent in the room. So I'm still laying down, like sniffling, like silently to myself. She's laying down, and all of a sudden I hear a voice say, "I know you're not asleep." And I'm just like, who the fuck is that? It's her felon boyfriend that she still has on the phone. So Nani is actually asleep. I'm awake, and her boyfriend is saying some weird ass crazy shit on the phone. So on top of my fucking anxiety attack, mind you, my shift the next day was at 9:30. I am like just listening to her boyfriend say like the weirdest fucking shit on the phone. I'm trying not to cry. It was just a lot. But yeah, it was little things like that that Nani like wasn't respecting. So I was not being the nicest to her. I'm not even gonna hold you. And so how she remedied that was she began sleeping on the couch in the living room. Mind you, I did not tell her to sleep on the couch. I did not make her sleep on the couch. She just started sleeping on the couch in the living room. I think a part of the reason she did that also, she wanted to make it seem like it was solely because like I was being like, you know, passive aggressive, but it was not. It was also because Nani was a fucking slob. When Nani was in the room with me, like she couldn't be fully like disgusting because I would say something about it. Like, especially if it was like permeating throughout the room. Like, there was one time where our room just like fucking stunk because she stank, and she had like washed her comforter and the comforter just smelled like mildew and the room was just gross. And so I was just like disgusted, and I was making a big deal about it, and she was like, "Is everything okay?" I was like, "No, everything's not okay. It fucking stinks in here." Like, I can admit, like, was that bitchy? Yes, but like, you guys have to understand, like, oh my god, like, it was just like the smell of mildew was just permeating throughout the room. Like, it was so gross. And so yeah, me and her just kept having like butting heads like that, where there was this like tension between us socially. I also just wasn't a fan of how she was, like, her hygiene. So she moved into the living room because it was essentially acting as her bedroom. However, she didn't ask any of us if she could do that. And so when she put Dee's clothes on the couch, remember, she's been sleeping there, and like I said, Nani has a funk to her. You're putting my clean clothes, well, Dee's clean clothes on the couch where you're fucking sleeping, and you stink. It's also like, you can just ask somebody, "Hey, are you like done washing clothes?" before you move their stuff out of the laundry, especially because at the time there was only 3 of us. And it's like, it wasn't like Nani had, like, again, it wasn't like Nani was washing clothes and like smelling good. Like, the shit stunk anyway. But yeah, that situation with her tossing my food and like putting Dee's clothes on the couch, the stinky couch, it kind of opened up a door for me and Dee to like start bonding over our dislike of Nani. So me and Dee were both character attendants, and before we would kind of just talk about being attendants. We weren't attendants at the same park, but we would just talk about attendance stories, like bond over that. But once we kind of realized, yo, we both do not fuck with Nani, we started to talk about how much we did not fuck with Nani. Getting closer with Dee and kind of realizing that we both didn't fuck with Nani was also good, because there was other shit that Nani was doing around the apartment that I wasn't aware of, that Dee was. For example, why was Nani still inviting Gaz, the girl that she let sleep on her couch, who left pants on her fucking stove, still come over to the apartment? Mind you, again, Nani did not like gas. So Nani doesn't like gas, yet she's letting this bitch come over to our apartment and like sleep on the funky couch. Gaz wasn't the only person she was inviting over. She was inviting her other friends over as well, and they just were not respecting like the space. Like, we had this like tray in the middle of the coffee table. This was before Nani even moved in. The old roommates had set this up, where it was a tray that was on the coffee table that you could just fill with candy. And we'd been trying to keep up the tradition of filling it with candy as well. But Nani's nasty ass, she would like eat the candy and then like leave the wrappers in the tray. Like she was a child. Like, she would leave the wrappers like in the tray. She would also like, I remember one time she half ate one and left it in the tray. Like, on top of the couch being disgusting, that coffee table just became disgusting too. So I didn't refill the candy anymore. We're gonna get to what happened to the candy tray. But yeah, like I was saying, Nani would sleep on the couch. There was actually 1 week where Nani like consistently called out of work and just sat her ass on our couch for that entire week. And you know what Nani had the nerve to like say to us like the next week? She was shocked that she owed Flamingo money. So like, if you don't know, you have to work a certain number of hours, not only like so you can get money, but to pay your rent for Flamingo. Flamingo takes that shit directly out of your paycheck. So if you're not working because you're consistently calling out, not because anything's wrong, not because you're sick, but just because you don't feel like it, oh, Flamingo's gonna get their money one way or another. But yeah, she like stayed on our couch for an entire week. I kid you not, whole living room smelling like funk. And then she was confused as to why she owed Flamingo money. Like, girl, come on, be for real. Again, you are the oldest here. But not only did she stink our living room up, she also completely trashed it one day. And I have video proof of this. This video is getting incredibly long. Let me know if you want part 5, and let me know if you want the video of her trashing our living room. Thank you guys for watching. I'm so sorry that this took so long. I promise I'd be more consistent. Bye.
Another story about growing up in LA. This one's from high school. There was a girl who was friends with my very close friend, and she and I ended up getting close because, as she put it, she felt very intimidated and insecure about my friendship with her boyfriend, which totally makes sense. And I was like, dude, let's be really good friends. She had been with him for 3 years. I had known him for like a few months. And then she and I were both cast in the musical that I talked about in one of the earlier parts of this series. We end up bonding, spending time together, and we're also part of this like larger group. And also there's a boy in that group, so my good friend's best friend. I have a crush on him. I think he has a crush on me, and we kind of had like a will they won't they kind of thing going on, but he would never like say it. So whatever, months pass, we do this musical, we end up getting closer, and then at some point, my close friend breaks up with her, and she is devastated. This was like her first everything. She's also younger than him, and he gets a girlfriend like very shortly after they break up, and he was throwing a very big birthday party, birthday bash, like the weekend before school let out for the summer. This also coincided with either one of the rehearsals or the performances, like the party. So she and I were together that day, and he gave explicit instructions that she is not allowed to be at the birthday party. Makes sense. It's his birthday party at his house. Like, he doesn't want her there. And I found out the reason he broke up with her is because she cheated on him. Anyways, we also hear right before the party starts that his best friend, so the guy that I had the will they won't they thing with, he had told everybody that he was gonna make out with me that night. And I was like, that's weird. Like, he's never even told me he likes me. So why is he telling people that he's gonna do this thing? Unilaterally just like deciding that that's what's gonna happen. I hated that. So we end up talking about whether we should go or not, and me and this girl were gonna hang out anyways, and she's like, dude, we have to go, and like, let's just go, and we won't talk to either of them, like, we'll show them, or something like that. And I was like, dude, it just sounds so messy, you know, like, what's the point? I wanted to leave the school year with like a good feeling / the musical really took everything out of me. But
because I had no fight left in me, she managed to persuade me to go to this thing. And I also was like, dude, whatever, it's just a party. Like, what could possibly go wrong? We end up going to the party, and she had told me, like, we're gonna stick together, we're gonna ignore these guys. And like, not, I don't know, an hour into this party, she has glommed onto his best friend. So the guy I told her I was gonna be ignoring for the night, she's hanging out with him all night. And she's supposed to come home with me. So I'm kind of like, so the night continues. I'm making my rounds, talking to my friends, having a time at a party. And I don't know where she goes. Like, she's supposed to come home with me. I'm looking for her. Where is she? Where'd she go? My good friend, so her ex-boyfriend, ends up finding her in his bedroom at his birthday party with his best friend, the guy that I had the will they, won't they thing. The car ride home was very quiet with her. My mom drove us home because neither of us drove. We did kind of have a conversation about it, and they end up having like a relationship throughout summer break. The best friend of her ex-boyfriend and this girl that I had been very close with. Super weird. I didn't really talk to her that summer because I was like, what? It's not about the guy. And if she had told me like, hey, by the way, like, I have feelings for this guy, what do you think? I would have been like, dude, whatever. Like, I'd never been with him. And even if I had, it's like, nobody belongs to anybody. But I digress. We end up coming back from summer break, and he basically tells me that he never stopped liking me and that he really only dated her to save face, so to speak, because it was a horrible look to make out with his best friend and bandmate's girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, at his birthday party. Whatever. He was like, I've always liked you. I'm thinking about ending things with her. And I was kind of like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's your life, you know, live it. So he ends up breaking up with her. She ends up having a conversation with me like, okay, I guess it's okay if you guys date. And I was like, okay, girl. Like, we weren't friends at that point, so I was just like, I wasn't asking for your permission, but for sure. I ended up dating him briefly, and then we ended up just staying friends and staying in touch throughout the years. We end up having like a little fling in college, and then we end up dating seriously towards the end of college, and we're together for years. And when we first started dating, this girl starts liking, commenting on like everything and FaceTiming him and just getting very intense. And he hadn't heard from her in like a few months. And I was also like, you know, we kind of reconnected throughout college, but we weren't like super tight or anything. It was like always kind of weird after she did that, you know, like it really wasn't about the guy. It was just the maneuver, you know, like, why did you do that? Not just like to me, but like to your ex-boyfriend who you also like already cheated on. Anyways, besides the point. I like now fast forward to I'm in a relationship with the guy that, you know, was the best friend that she had, whatever. And she's being super intense, and he's like, hey, do you mind if we're friends? Like, she's been, you know, calling me a lot, and my ex-girlfriend hated that we were friends, and like we used to send each other letters and all these things. And I was kind of like, I mean, if you guys are just friends, like, it's all good. As long as she respects the relationship and you respect the relationship, like, I don't mind. He claimed that they hadn't like been anything more than that little moment that they had in high school. But then I find out that they had been hooking up over the years. And so obviously there was like a thing between them. And I was like, okay, well, since you lied about it, like, no, I don't feel comfortable with you guys talking. Because, like, if he had just said, like, oh, yeah, we did do stuff, like, throughout the years, but, like, we're just friends now, I wouldn't have cared. I removed her from everything. He removed her from everything. And that was that. Years pass. And I can't remember who I was talking to. And they were like, oh, my God, yeah, like, she has kids now. And I was like, huh? So I went and looked her up, and she did this full rebrand as like a trad wife, like barefoot and pregnant vibe, where her whole profile is her husband who's twice her age and all her babies. And she's like perpetually pregnant. And it's just so crazy because it's like a different way to be male-centered, but like in a way that is more societally acceptable, than like homie hopping, which, by the way, nothing against that. I don't mind, whatever. Live your life, do whatever you want. But it was just the way that she would destroy her friendships with a lot of girls to hook up with guys that they liked, and hook up with like siblings and roommates, and like constantly destroying relationships, like in the midst of, in the pursuit of pee-pee. But anyways, that's that story.
17 years ago today, I lost my brother to terminal bowel cancer. He was only 17 at the time and I was 15, and I feel like it's only just recently I'm starting to remember and process how traumatic the last 2 weeks of his life were for him, my parents, and I. It was a few weeks before we lost him, and my mum was out at the local dog park walking our beautiful family dog. It was the only time she took for herself between caring for my very, very sick brother. My dog was awesome, but he hated the noise of motorbikes, and they were so far from the road that my mum just thought you wouldn't even be able to hear a motorbike from that far away. Anyway, a motorbike went past and he went bolting for it and got hit by a truck and instantly lost him. At the time, I was going through year 10 exams, and the next day I had a maths exam. So I was actually staying at my friend's house that evening to study because I didn't want to be a burden to my parents. And they both agreed that it would be best not to tell me about our family dog. I went to school the next day, none the wiser, and I was walking to my maths exam. I had my books across my chest, and someone from my year group came up to me and said, "Hey, it feels really wrong, but everyone in the year group knows except you that your dog died yesterday, and I feel obliged to tell you." And I just dropped my books and fell to the floor and could not stop crying. I got taken to the sick bay where my dad picked me up. He was so upset. This is so much harder to get through than I thought it would be. But fast forward to about a week later, and I was at an all-girls Catholic high school, and every month they would release a newsletter, and in the newsletter it would have a prayers column, and at the top it would be people that are unwell and sick that we're praying for, and at the bottom it would be people that we had lost. And my school accidentally published my brother's name in the bottom section saying that we had lost him, and he was still very much alive, very sick but alive. And obviously parents received the newsletter. Everyone that knew my family and had read the newsletter started sending through their condolences to my parents, which they were so confused about because they obviously weren't in the right headspace to be reading my school newsletter. So they had no idea where this false information was coming from, and it had obviously gone to everyone by the time the school had caught on to their mistake. I was actually in class at the time the school realised that they had made the mistake, and they got the school counsellor to come and get me and talk to me. And when she rocked up to the classroom door to tell the teacher that she needed to speak to me, I thought, this is it. This is the moment that I've found out about my brother dying. She didn't say one word to me the whole walk down to the office, and I sat in the chair in front of her, and I don't know if she thought I knew what had happened, but I had no idea about the newsletter at this point. And she just kept apologising but not saying what for. So I'm thinking that my brother had died, and she thinks I probably know about this newsletter, and she just keeps apologising. And I think it was 10 or 15 minutes before I actually figured out what she was talking about. A week later, the main traumatic event happens and we lose my brother on the 23rd of June 2009. I was actually on the bus home from school when I got a call from my dad, and he just couldn't talk. He couldn't get words out. So I knew what had happened, and I got home as quickly as I could. I actually almost ended up not passing year 10 because I missed so much school after that, but my grief journey has been such a wild ride. I have blocked out so much from my memory that just randomly comes back to me, and it's just taken me years and years to process, and I am still processing it now.
I had the strangest first day of my life last night, and I'm just now, processing it. And I feel like I need to share this because it's one for the books. So to start, I had a really bad day last night. Sorry, I had a really bad day yesterday. So I was like, I'm gonna reinstall Hinge and go on a date with someone because, obviously that's the smart thing to do. When you have a bad day, go roll a die and meet someone that might be absolutely terrible. right? I'm so smart. Anyway, so reinstall Hinge and I match with someone almost immediately. And right off the bat, we're talking. He's like, oh, hey, I was just watching YouTube. What's up? And we're just chatting. And he's like, do you want to meet up? Because, like, we were talking and I told him I had a bad day. And he said he also had a bad day. And he's like, let's meet up and just, like, vent. I'm like, yeah, that could be cool. So he sends me his phone number and he's like, call me so we can figure out the logistics. I'm like, oh, okay. So I call the number and he's like, wait. I'm like, oh, well, you told me to call you. And he's like, hold on, just hold on. And I'm put on hold for like 2 minutes. And he comes back. I'm like, hey, what's up? And he's like, oh, I'm on the phone with DoorDash right now. Sorry, I'm doing DoorDash deliveries right now. Okay. And he's like, yeah, something's wrong with my account right now. I'm just trying to figure it out, but it's whatever. Hey, what's up? I'm like, hi. And he's like, so what are we doing? Am I picking you up? I'm like, no, first date, you know you're not picking me up. I'm like, no, actually, I have my own car. I can drive wherever we're gonna meet, but definitely not my house. Or your house, for that record. That comes into play later on. So he's like, okay, well, it's totally fine. I like driving. I can just come pick you up. I'm like, no, that's not gonna happen. So I was like, let's change topic. Let's, like, completely remove the idea of even coming to my house from his brain. So we're gonna go to Taco Bell. I'm like, you like Taco Bell? And he's like, yeah, I like Taco Bell. I'm like, okay, we can go to Taco Bell. He was already on his way while we were having that conversation. So I had to, like, quickly figure that out, okay? So we go. I'm on my way there. We're still on the phone, by the way. And I get in. I park, and he's like, I'm like 2 minutes away. I'll be pulling in like just a second. I'm like, cool. He pulls in, and he parks like a couple cars down. And I get out of my car, and I'm just like waiting for him to get out of his car. I'm like, we're still on the phone. And I'm like, are you getting out of your car? He's like, no, I thought we were just gonna talk in my car. No, we didn't say that. We didn't say that. I didn't say that. I invited you to Taco Bell, not the Taco Bell parking lot. I'm like, no. And he's like, well, just come over here and talk to me. I'm like, okay. So I hang up the phone. I walk to his car. And he's like, yo, dude, just, like, come sit down. Just, like, come sit in my car. I'm like, no, I don't feel super comfortable. How about you get out and we can go inside? And he's like, well, I don't really feel like trauma dumping in Taco Bell. I'm like, well, you did agree to go to Taco Bell, so maybe you should have thought about that before you drove over, but that's okay. So I'm like, let's compromise and we'll sit in the parking lot. Like, literally, like, outside. Sit outside, okay? And he's like, okay. So we go over to, like, the back of the parking lot, and there's, like, a bunch of big boulders over there, so we sit on the rocks. And he's like, okay, so tell me about your day. You know, why did you have a bad day? And I start telling him. And then he's like, hold on. I'm like, wait, what's up? He's like, I just need to interrupt you real quick. You're being really loud. I'm like, oh, my bad. We are in public. We are in an outdoor setting, and there is literally no one around us. So I wasn't really worried about someone else hearing me. But yeah, I'm sorry. I'll lower my voice to a whisper for you. I'm so sorry. And he's like, yeah, I can hear your voice echoing. I don't know if you noticed that. I'm like, okay. So he lets me finish my story, and then he turns to me with, like, the biggest puppy dog eyes, and he goes, can we go sit in my car now? My butt hurts. I'm like, you know what? Fine. Fuck it. Fine. I go to his car, and I open his door, and the first thing... Oh, I totally forgot to mention, when he came out of his car earlier, he asked if he could smoke a cigarette. I was like, well, that wasn't really mentioned on your profile, so maybe not right now. He's like, oh, okay. So he brought a cart instead, which... Not too far from a cigarette, but whatever. So anyway, I open the car door, and the first thing I see is, like, a giant can, like, this big, of bear spray. And he's like, if you ever feel unsafe, you can just grab that. I'm like, okay. It's like, yeah, just so you know, I won't try anything. It's right there. It's right there. So I'm not gonna do anything. I'm like, okay. Wow. So we start talking again. He's telling me about his exes and this girl that he had a situationship with, and it's insane, and I'm not gonna share because I'm talking about him, not his shit, right? I'm not gonna air his shit. I'm just not that kind of person. So he's telling me about that, and then he starts, like, fidgeting with his crotch. I'm like, what's up? And he's like, sorry, I have a huge dick, and I'm uncomfortable. Okay? So I just kind of awkwardly laughed, and he's like, yeah, it's so funny. Big dick. I'm like, this is really interesting for someone to say after, like, only knowing them for 20 minutes. Wow. So anyway, we just have this back and forth, and then he's like, you know, can we stop talking about exes? Because, you know, we're two people. We're here right now. Let's just forget about everything else. I'm like, yeah, okay. And he's like, you know, I'm really vibing with you. And I mean, if you want to, you could stay the night. No. No. And he's like, it's been so long since I've slept with someone and had someone there with me, you know, laying with me. And it would just be so nice for me, because I haven't been sleeping well lately. I'm like, that kind of sounds like a you problem. But I didn't say that. I was just like, no, maybe another time. And so I said no. And I'm like starting to think like maybe this is time to wrap things up because I think he's starting to get the wrong idea. And I'm like looking at my phone, kind of hypervigilance, like checking time, and he's like, if you want to go, you just say that. You don't need permission. I'm like, okay. Well, I was just like checking the time, and he's like, yeah, okay, whatever. And so we talked a little bit more. We were talking about hobbies, and I'm like, what are you into? Like, what aspirations do you have? He's like, I don't know. I kind of just want to die. Okay. Well, I'm into nature. So that's my thing. He's like, yeah, man, I just hate my life. I just want to die. I'm like, wow, okay, time to wrap up. So I'm like, all right, well, it's like 9 p.m., so I'm gonna head out, but nice talking to you, nice meeting you. And I open the door and I get out. I'm like, bye, and he just looks at me. I'm like, okay. I close the door. I go back to my car. I drive home, and the story keeps going. I'm not even joking. The story keeps going. There's still a little bit more. Just hanging there with me. So I drive home, and I look at my phone, and I have a text from him, from his phone number, and he's like, I had a nice time, but I don't think we should see each other again. I'm not the right person. I hate myself. I hate my life. I'm like, oh, okay. He had matched me on Hinge, and he just kept, like, it was very attention-seeky. Like, he just kept sending me messages saying, like, I hate my life. And I'm like, okay, well, I understand that, like, you know, it was a first meet. Like, it wasn't perfect. That's just how it goes. And he's like, no, it's me. It's not you. It's me. I know it's cliche to say that, but it's me. I'm like, okay, well, drive safe. Sorry that you didn't have a better night. And he said, lol, alright, see ya, bud. I'm like, dude, what the fuck is your problem?
Hey guys, my name is Caitlin. I am 32 and a hairdresser here in East Texas. I am going to tell you a story of my life, I guess. And honestly, I'm nervous to do this because I have never made a TikTok a day in my life. See, I'm already fumbling over my words. But let me be perfectly clear and honest, okay? I am someone that can help others because of my experiences. And I have proof of this from even just being a hairdresser, right? You would think that being a hairdresser, it's just gossip and hair talk and, you know, that kind of thing. But I've ministered to more people in my salon chair than I have anywhere else in my life. And I hope by telling you this story of things that I've been through and the things that I've done, the choices that I've made, that this maybe can help you too. I don't know where to start, to be honest, because I have lived a lot of life in my 32 years and I've tried to do things my way. Pretty much my entirety of my 20s, or the entirety of my 20s. I met my son's dad when I was in high school. We got engaged my senior year. We got married 2 weeks after I graduated. So June 16th, I think, 2012. We found out the following January that I was pregnant with my son, Luke. And we didn't see a lot of each other just because of the nature of his job. He was oil field and he was gone a lot. So we might see him for a couple of days out of the month. We were young and we were best friends. And I think we did the best at what we knew how, if that makes any sense. I know those words, that's not wording. But when Luke was 2 years old, we went through a divorce, and children, believe it or not, they one day will see things on the internet, so I'm not going to get into the details of that. That's not for me to tell. But I was young, okay, and here I was, a single mom of this 2-year-old little boy. I was 22, I guess, divorced. And so I spent some time going to therapy and working on myself, and I thought I had gotten everything figured out. And so I quit going to therapy and I started online dating, and I, talked to a few people here and there, and I had a season of where I probably drank too much. And anytime my son was not with me, I was just doing all the wrong things. So I met a man that turns out to be my daughter's dad, and we dated for 3 years, got married, and also divorced when she was 2 years old. Again, I'm not going to go into big logistics of this, but there was a domestic violence situation that occurred, and it did occur in front of my daughter. And I went to my neighbor's house for safety, and he was sent to jail, and I got a restraining order, and the divorce proceedings started. This divorce lasted a really long time. And guys, let me back up just a little bit by telling you that I was raised in church. And I'm not talking like we just went to Sunday service. I'm talking my mom worked for the church. She worked for the day school at the church. So we were there, obviously, Sunday and Wednesday. Sundays, I went to early service. I went to Sunday school, and I went to the late service because it was either that or sit in the nursery and be bored. So that's what I did. Wednesdays, I was there for Wednesday night program. And then there were other days throughout the week, whether it be a Monday, a Friday, a Saturday, Tuesday or Thursday night, where my mom had to work in nursery for a Bible study or something that was going on within the church. And so I was always there. In the 6th grade, I started singing in the youth praise band, and I did that until I was a senior. So I graduated high school, and then I quit doing that because I was getting married, and very soon after found out I was having a baby. So I stopped going to church at that point because I thought, well, I got this. I mean, you don't need a building for Jesus. and you don't. I'm not condemning anyone that may or may not go to church services. You can find the Word of God everywhere that you go, and it is within you if you choose to have that kind of relationship with Him. But I was far from where I needed to be. And after going through 2 divorces, I can remember going back to the same therapist. Her name is Gayla, and she is an angel on earth, and she has helped me through so much because I thought, you know what, although neither one of these directly were my fault, okay, I'm still a common denominator in the situations. I'm still the one that is going through the divorce, and so clearly I'm not picking the right people, and later found out that I did not at the time have the confidence in myself or the assurance that I needed that I was good enough to have someone that was a stand-up guy. Through my divorce, it lasted almost a year and a half. I can remember praying specifically every day, God, if it is not from you for me, then take it away, because I'm not strong enough to see it, nor to do it myself. And so, I dated a little bit. Now, whether that was right or wrong, whatever, I was lonely, and my ex-husband really and truly drugged this process out as much as he possibly could. There were motions filed, and holdups and refusals, and I'm not signing this if you don't do this, and things that were silly, like TVs. I mean, it was ridiculous. But anyway, I'd do it all over again for my daughter 1,000,000 times over. So I started dating, and I dated a few people, and it just didn't work out. And it wasn't because of me saying, hey, I got to go, I got to get out of this. It's because God put situations in place that made it so that I was no longer going to be with that person. And so I'm so grateful for that. And in the moment, even, I didn't see it. But I took a little break and thought, you know what, I'm going to try out this Facebook dating thing. Maybe that'll work. So, I messaged a few people, and most of the time I get, oh, you're so pretty, and they're so focused on the way that I look, or that kind of thing, that they don't care to know anything else about me. They just know that I'm pretty and they want to hook up, and that's just not the kind of gal I am. So I did receive a message from David, which is now my husband, and we knew each other in high school, and I just never dated him then. So, he reached out and said, hey, I'd like to reconnect with you, and we spent a little bit of time texting back and forth, and finally we went out to eat, and I think he said 5 words on the date, and half of that was to order his food, which is funny because I'm like, do you want to hang out after this, or like you just seem like you don't have a lot to say? And then he tells me, that he was just nervous, and never thought that I would go out with him, and he's thought I was a cutie since high school. So anyway, all of that to say, I went through a lot, okay, and it wasn't until I surrendered myself to God and His plans for my life that I truly was able to receive such great blessings. In the midst of my second divorce, I heard the song Waymaker come on in my car, and I had never heard the song before. I really didn't listen to Christian radio. It was just something that happened to come on, and it just stopped me in my tracks and nearly took my breath away, because it says, even when I don't feel it You're working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. You never stop, God. You never stop. And it was just the first time I think that I'd ever felt conviction on my heart that God was telling me, I am your father, and you are going to be taken care of, and that you are one in me. Well, that same day I went into the hair salon and I was doing someone else's hair. And it was at the end of the day, and I was so tired, and I kind of didn't want to be there because I was over it. And I was complaining. You know, she was asking how everything was going. She knew I was going through a divorce, and I was just crying. I said, you know, I am just exhausted. You know, I said, who's going to want me now? I'm 29 with 2 kids by 2 different men, divorced twice. Who's going to want me now? And she said, I think you know the answer to that. And this is going to have to be a part 2. So hold, please.
So I guess we're back for another story time. I have thought about this for a while, and a lot of my friends are like, you need to tell the story of your divorce and the ending of your marriage. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that because, you know, I mean, we have children together. I don't want to do that. So after talking with my kids were like, you should tell it, Mom. You've kept your mouth shut this whole time. And FYI, all of our friends are messaging us like, please have your mom tell her story. We want to know. So like, I've gotten a lot of new followers on my dating journey. So some of you may not care, but this is the story of the demise of my marriage, I guess. It's one way to go about it. I will start out with this. Try not to touch my hair. This is just what happened I'm going to talk probably about a lot of it because it'll be a lot of parts, but I want to say this up front. Like, it takes 2 people for a marriage to work, and it also takes 2 people for it to crumble. I was not blameless in this. It's not like I haven't had any fault in it. And I'll probably talk about some of that stuff too. Like, I don't know exactly what I'm going to say. I'm literally just talking to the camera. So I don't know if how I'll go about it, but I do want to put that out there first. I had just as, there's just as much blame to me as to him. It didn't work out. I think that us divorcing was for the best for both of us. I really do. And he's very happy now. He's engaged. He's getting married. Happy for him. Have a great life. Like, it's just, you know, I hope that she makes you happier than what I did, especially at the end. But I did, I met him when I was 21. We got married at 22. I got pregnant, so we got married. But I will say, we were like, oh my gosh, we're so excited we can get married, because we didn't think we had enough money to get married. So anyway, we built a beautiful life, in my opinion. I was so happily married to him for 20 years. Then he had some health issues, and I won't go into all that, but anyway, and so he like changed, not changed careers, went back to what he did before. He is an electrician, and he had an electrical contracting company. He opened a small business, and so he was really busy growing his business. And about that time, our kids were teenagers, and I was, I would go help out at his office and stuff. And then I do ultrasound for a living. I would do ultrasound, just like one day a week I was working. So basically I was running kids around and, you know, I had the party bus, like I had a Suburban. I'd pile up kids all in my car and drive them all around. So during that time, in our earlier years, we were very, very, very close. And as time went on, as the kids got older and he's like trying to grow a business, my focus was more on the children and his was more on his business. And I really didn't see a problem with it at the time. I'm like, you know, this is just a phase we're in. You know, this is just one of the stages. Got to have money to live, and kids have to have parents. So I was like, it's a good dynamic we've got here. I've got the home front, and you are paying for everything. I mean, I did contribute a little bit back then. So he always controlled our finances. I said all that to say this. He did control our finances. So, and I from the time we got married. He always did. I couldn't even tell you how much our electric bill was back then. I had no idea. I would just literally say, hey, I need to go to the grocery store. Is it okay? The kids need school clothes. They need whatever. Am I good? And he'd just say yes or no, and then I'd go, and that was our dynamic, and it worked for 20 years. So during that time, when I was more like with all the teenagers and he was at work, he's got his side of the story. This is just mine. This is my story. Seen memes on it. I'm like, you don't get to control the narrative of what I went through. So this is just what I went through. Again, it's not like I've never made a mistake or contributed to anything. I had my faults too. But he did control all the money and stuff. And so I think just with him, like building a business and trying to get that off the ground. And then you've got, like, as kids get older, they get more expensive. And then here, he's trying to juggle like all the budget over at the business and the budget at home. Well, we didn't have a budget at home, but the budget at home, whatever you want to call it. I think it just stressed him out. That's my opinion for living with him. I think that's what it was. But I don't know. But he started drinking a lot more, and he was his own boss, so he could drink. And so I had gone back to work full time, like right after COVID. And so I wasn't around him at all during the day. I was working full time. The kids were older. I was like, well, two of the three of them drive. I get home an hour after them. I'd rather go to work than sit at home and watch Netflix and play with my dog. So then I was making it was a good second income. And when we had our middle child was about to graduate from high school, and we had seen how much he was drinking, and he would talk about how he's not going to drink anymore. Like, I'm not going to drink at the office. Well, he had no boss, so he could drink at the office, and then he'd come home and then drink at home. But he was saying he wasn't going to drink anymore. Blah blah blah. And I mean, I drink too. I mean, it's not. I didn't realize how bad the problem was. So he had passed out on the toilet, and it was snoring, and a friend of his was over. They had all been out at the lake, and I mean, I get it. You're at the lake, have some drinks, whatever. My daughter, my mom, and I were in the kitchen making food for her graduation party, and somebody was like, well, where is he? And I'm like, probably asleep on the toilet. And we're like, does he do that often? And we're like, yeah. And he asked me, he was like, let me ask you. He's like, does he drink when he comes home? And I was like, Peyton and I looked at each other. We're like, yeah, it's my daughter. And we're like, from the moment he walks in the door until he either passes out or just decides to go to bed, which he usually would. Usually I'd walk in from work and he'd be just passed out on the chair. And we were like, why? Does he drink at the office? Because he said, he had told us, he said he wasn't drinking when he came home. We're like, he is. And I said, he told us he's not drinking at the office. And he was like, when I walk in at like 6:30 in the morning, he's already drinking. So I'm like, oh gosh, we have a problem, like a bad problem. So anyway, that's when it got real bad. I was trying to be supportive. I quit drinking anywhere around him. I was like, well, I won't do it. Well, he was like sneaking it. I could smell it on him. He was lying to me about it, lying to our kids about it. So I had told him, I was like, you literally broken my trust. So I'm done. If you want to kill yourself drinking, you kill yourself drinking. But I have 3 kids, not 4, and I will not parent you. You do what you want. Well, he kept drinking. One of our kids told him, if you don't stop drinking, then I won't have a relationship with you. And he chose to. So those, what I was saying in some of my other videos, you kind of chose this he made some decisions, and they've had repercussions to this day. So that's a backstory of kind of how it led to us about to get a divorce. So part 2 will be next, because my videos are entirely too long, but I didn't touch my hair much. Okay, I'm going to make a part 2 tonight. There's much more to come. This is just the backstory. I'm like, let me just lead up to I put divorce part 2. Let me just this is just what was happening and how it ended up getting to that stage. So our middle child had graduated from high school, And our oldest one was in college already. And so she was, she went to UT in Knoxville, so she didn't live here. He went to school close to where he commuted, but I'm pretty sure he had moved out by then. So it was, but we all spent a lot of time together, and like when they would, come over for weekends or whatever. So, or when like our daughter would come home, and anyway, and even just holidays and stuff, like you can imagine, maybe you can't, I mean, holidays, like calling our kids, just saying terrible things to them. I'll just say that. I'm not going to say what he said. I don't want to trigger anyone. Like, it was just, he wasn't violent at all, ever. I mean, he would yell, but, and get agitated and things like that real easily. But I mean, he was drunk all the time, literally all the time. But he said some very, very mean things to all of us. And I would tell him, I'm like, you don't think you're mean, but your words are mean. They're mean. And so by that time, I mean, we were just coexisting. We were literally just living under the same roof. I wasn't affectionate towards him. He wasn't towards me. He was mean in his words. A lot of times, not all the time, but, well, most of the time. He never did anything with us. I mean, we would go, hey, we're going to go get something to eat. No, I'm not going to go. I'm going to sit here. I would get up on Saturday mornings when I would walk out of our bedroom, and he was already drinking. Like, he would just sit at home and drink. That's all he did. He wouldn't even go and do anything with me and our kids, ever. I mean, we were on our way to the beach, and he was like, oh, let's stop at Cracker Barrel and eat breakfast. They have mimosas there. And I'm like, you're not going to drink and drive we're driving 8 hours to the beach. Like, no. And he got so mad he didn't speak to me most of the day because I wouldn't let him drink at breakfast when he was going to be driving us to the beach. Like, it was bad. So that gives you some examples. You get an idea. Like, it was just bad. It was bad. So we had our youngest child at home, and I was just very much like, I mean, we all were like, wanted the best for him, obviously. I mean, he's my husband. He's the kid's father. And I'm like, we just need to pray for him and hope for the best. And I would try to talk to him. Of course, that would always end up in an argument. And then I got to where, I mean, I didn't even talk. I would cry, physical tears when I would leave work on Friday. I'm like, I don't want to go be there all weekend. I don't want to go. And I would be giddy and excited on Sunday nights just so I could go back to work. Yeah, that's how bad it was. But I'm like, I don't want to be divorced. Like, here we've been married all this time, and we've been married a long time. I'm like, we just need to love him through it, and we need to pray for him, and this, that, and the other. But he refused. It's like he just kept drinking more and more. And sometimes I look back and I'm like, maybe I did more damage than good trying to keep my family together and staying as long as I did, because my kids got really hurt in it. There's things that he did that hurt them. There may be things that I did that hurt them, and they just haven't told me. I'm very, very, very close to all three of my kids, but they haven't told me anything. But I might have too. I'm not saying that I'm telling you I wasn't blameless in all this. I stayed and allowed my children to be around that, and I shouldn't have. I mean, I did other things too. I don't mean just that. So anyway, it got to a point where our youngest, she was a senior in high school, and she was marking, I don't even know if he ever knew, marking his vodka bottle to see how much of it he was drinking every night. He was going through like a handle of vodka in like a day or two at home, and he could drink at the office too. So she was just, she was 17 probably at the time. Not a very good environment. But she and I would like sit up and talk, and I would talk to her through it. Like, we're just going to try to be there for dad, blah, 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 blah. And I was in Knoxville with our middle child for her 21st birthday. She was born on Halloween, so I had to go to spend that day with her. So, but my youngest had, she's in the band, and she had to be there for a game. And so she stayed, and she was going to drive up to Knoxville the next day after on the next day, whatever. I don't know. I think the game was on a Thursday night, which is weird. But anyway, I remember her birthday was on a Thursday. So my daughter's actual birthday, her band director called me, and I was the president of the booster club. I mean, I was like I'm just a mom, and she was like, "Hey, look, I need to talk to you. I know your situation because I'm close to you, but like I need to share this with you." She was like, "Your daughter is not herself." She was sitting in the back with the hoodie up over her head and like just not talking to anyone. She's like, and that's not like her. She's usually like laughing and talking. And she was like, so I pulled her in the office and she just broke down crying, just lost it. Like my dad, my mom's out of town and I'm stuck there with my dad, and I'm hearing him say to my mom, like, I haven't drank anything since you left. And she's like, I'm watching him do it, and I'm watching how much he's drinking, and I'm usually okay because my mom is here, but my mom isn't here right now because she's with my sister for my sister's birthday, and it's just really hard when she's not around. And she was like, I just think that you need to be aware. And I was like, you know what? It's time. My girls had been begging me to leave him, begging me. And it got so bad that I just was trying, I didn't want my family to break up. So she ended up coming up with us, and I mean, we, of course, I'm very close to them. We talked about everything. I tried to be there for them. But the next week I went and saw an attorney, and I was like, look, I'm not ready to pull the trigger yet, but I just kind of need to know my options. Like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, how does this even work? I don't even know. Like, why am I in a divorce attorney's office right now? But I am. Here we are. And she was like, that's fine. I was like, let me just at least get through the holidays, because it was November. And I was like, let me at least get through the holidays. And she was like, that's fine. She's like, but after hearing what you've told me so far, she's like, he's going to piss you off and you're going to blurt it out. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. And we will get into that next. All right. So here is part 3 of my divorce story. So we left off, I'd seen an attorney, and then we had, so then fast forward to December. That was in November of 2024. In December of 2024, it was like right at the beginning of December, we had gotten in an argument, as we always did. And if we did speak to each other, we would just fight. And he and I my attorney was right. I just blurted it out. I was like, I cannot do this anymore. Like, this is just, it's over. I was wrong in one of my last videos. Our daughter she wasn't a senior in high school during this time. She was a junior. I had that wrong. So she still had a year and a half left of high school. And I was really hoping that I could at least make it long enough till she graduated from high school and got her off to college and stuff. But I couldn't do it anymore. So during that weekend, that was a Friday night. During that weekend, he was very much like, let's not tell our parents yet. Let's not tell the kids yet. Well, I mean, our daughter could hear everything that was going on. They knew. But during that weekend, he had shared with me where we were financially. And I was in complete shock. Let me say this. There's nobody to blame but myself. Okay? This is my fault. I trusted him. I had been, we'd been married for 25 years, and he always did our finances. And I never questioned anything. I trusted him. And when he laid everything out for me, like, I thought I worked for fun. I, in fact, did not just work for fun. I'm like, how did we end up here? And there's no way I can pay for half of this. He was definitely the breadwinner. And hindsight, I think he was trying to keep me from leaving, because he was very, very, at the time, he was very, very upset. He was like, let's go to counseling. Can we, we can work through it, blah, 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 blah. And then I got scared. I was like, how am I gonna be able to take care of kids? I don't know. So I was like, you know what? We'll try. We'll try. So my my daughters like sat me down that weekend and they were like, Mom, he's manipulating you again. Like you never see through it. And he like once I got out of it in hindsight, yeah, he did a lot. But anyway, um I my middle child that was in Knoxville, she was like, Mom, if you do not get my sister out of there, I'm gonna quit school and I'm gonna come home and I'm gonna get her and I'm gonna get a job in an apartment and get her. You've got to. And my youngest was crying to me. She's like, Mom, I am literally just slowly watching my dad kill himself. I don't care. I don't care. We don't have to live because we had, a nice home. And I'm like, you don't understand. Like your life is going to change drastically. She's like, I don't care. Please get me out of here. So I had, over the weekend we had said, okay, we're going to try. Well, I came home from work that Monday and I was like, I'm done. Like there's no way. Like I don't trust you anymore. I mean, you hid all this behind my back. I'll get into the finances stuff that he hid next, but I was like, you, I can't be with someone I don't trust, and I don't trust you anymore. So there's no way it's going to work. And I needed to get my daughter out of there. So for the next couple weeks, he just moped around. I started staying upstairs, and my daughter that lives in Knoxville, I stayed upstairs in her room. So we were just living separately in the same house. We were selling our house and splitting the equity out of it. And so for a couple weeks, it was just, I mean, like crying, begging, like driving the kids crazy, like just, I mean, wanting for us to all stay together or whatever. And then I think it was, yeah, it was Christmas. Christmas is when things changed a lot. I'll move on to what happened at Christmas. That'll be my next part. But what he had told me about the finances, or what he had put in front of me, he had actually had taken out like thousands of dollars in credit card debt. I think it was like, if you're rounding up, it was $30,000. I think like $28,000 in credit card debt in my name behind my back. Not all in my name. There was one that was like, I think it was $436 was his name. So not all. We gotta be honest here. So I am I'm just, this is how I live. I don't like debt. I don't like credit cards. That's why he was hiding it. And to this day, I don't know where all that money went. I'm like, well, where's the statements when what did you spend the money on? Family stuff. That's all I got was family stuff. That's all he would ever say. Family stuff. Well, what family stuff? Just stuff. So to this day, I still don't know where all of what all he spent that money on. I went to go try to get an apartment. Found out when I did that, I had a 590 credit score. So not only did he take out those credit cards in my name, the only thing I saw in statements, and they went back for a few years when I finally got a hold of them, was just late fees and finance charges. That was it. Never paid anything towards anything. And what he did pay came out late. So my credit was just demolished. Yeah, it was a 590, and it's better now, but that's where I was. So he had, like I had said earlier, not wanted to tell anyone about anything. Well, during that time, even though he asked me not to say anything, like he called my parents, or I'm not sure if he called my mom. My mom already knew, but call my dad, and I'm like, you had no right to do that. Like, that's my family. Like, he was trying to get people to convince me to stay. He was very, very much just upset. And I mean, I get it was a 25-year marriage. I get it. He's not good at being alone. And so he wanted for our family to have one last Christmas together, just the five of us. Usually his parents would come over. He's an only child. And our parents were friends. So we would all spend Christmas together. And he was like, I don't want to have grandparents over. Let's just do the five of us. I was like, okay. So we did. And all he did was just sit in his chair on his phone all day. Didn't speak to us, just, which he'd been real pouty over the last couple weeks. So we really didn't think much of it. And we were all in the living room. I'm a huge sports person. So we were watching the Chiefs game. And like our son was over, and like everyone, all of us were in the living room. And everything after that day, he just didn't speak. And the next day, he woke up a completely different person, and so excited and so great. Angie, you're right. We do need to get a divorce. We do. We do. We'll get into that in part 4. Okay, I'm going to try to make a part 4 real quick. I still have 20 minutes left on my lunch break. So, anyway, so we're at Christmas, and the day after, he had changed so much. And he had told me that night that he had to leave like real early the next morning. He probably wasn't going to be home that night. And I was like, well, okay, you can do whatever you want to do. I mean, whatever. He's like, well, since we're still living under the same roof, I just wanted to, I thought it was common courtesy to let you know, but I'm going to be leaving at like 4 o'clock in the morning because I have to drive to Nashville for meetings, and I have to go that early to beat the traffic. And I'm like, no, you don't. You go to Nashville for stuff all the time. And I used to drive to Nashville all the time when I was in clinicals. No, it's 6:15. You need to be out of by the house by, but whatever. So that was a red flag to me. And I was like, I'm gonna have my little radar up. And then he did end up coming home that night, and I mean, just giddy. I mean, he was like, you just don't understand it. Things are going to get better. There's just things that have transpired in my life. He would always say, something's transpired in my life, and blah blah. Anyway, so he was like, you'll just see. I'm like, okay, so whatever. When he got home that night, he was just giddy, and I'm like, what's up with you? You just have this smirk on your face. You just can't stop smiling. And he was like, no, nothing. I don't know. I don't know. So I can't remember if that was a Thursday or a Friday, but I remember telling my girls, I was like, I think your dad's found him a girlfriend. And they're like, there's no way, Mom. There's no way. He's obsessed with you. I'm like, I don't know. I think he did. So Saturday morning, it was the Saturday morning, and our house was, I mean, we had built our house in 2005. We lived there for 19 years, raised 3 kids there. Like it packed, I mean, it took forever to go through everything. And so we were trying to like go through things and pack and stuff. So I had gone downstairs. I was making some coffee because I had been sleeping upstairs, went down and made some coffee. And I had walked across the living room for something. Doesn't matter. And he had fallen asleep with his thumb like on his phone. I don't have like, if you like fall asleep or have your finger on your phone, it'll hold the screen. And so I just wasn't even looking. I just walked past right behind him, looked down, and whoops, he was texting his mom. His mom. With my kids in the back seat of their car. They had taken them on a trip to Gatlinburg. They always went after Christmas. So my children are in the back seat of her car, and she's texting. He's sending his mom all this information about this new girl. So of course, I mean, my heart immediately, I was like, oh my God. I mean, it was a gut punch. I'm not going to lie. Cause I really never expected that. I trusted him in every area. I mean, technically it was cheating, but I mean, I was leaving. I mean, we were separating. Our marriage was over. So, but it was still like 2 days ago, 1 week ago, whatever, you're begging me to work things out. And it was just like, you know what? I found somebody else, and he just tossed me off like an old piece of garbage. And that's what was hurtful. It didn't bother me that he was with someone, which that surprised me that didn't bother me. I'm like, I could imagine them together, and I literally didn't care. What I cared about was how he just dismissed me, like I was just literally like an old piece of garbage. So, and I'm sure he has his reasons for that, but he did. So
I didn't say a word. And I saw every single text message between the two of them. That's exactly where he was. He was not in Nashville at a meeting. He was in Chattanooga with his new girl. So I saw all that they had said to each other, whatever. Anyway, I'm not going to go into details of that. But he had on Christmas Day, he had slid into her inbox on Facebook. And I mean, she was very flirty, like, oh, you're the one that got away. And then he was like, well, actually, I'm getting a divorce. And so that was, those conversations were interesting. Some of the things he would say were not very kind about kids and things like that. And they saw it. And so that's another one of those, you made some decisions and there's repercussions for it. So anyway, when we were even during that time, because we were still living together for another couple weeks, so he would like guard his phone all the time. It was funny. I'm like, buddy, you fall asleep so early. And anyway, I still could see everything. And he had at one time, like he sat me down and he was like, look me in the eye. Angie, look me in the eye right now. I am not seeing anyone, talking to anyone, doing anything inappropriate with anyone. And I'm like, I never said you did. And he said, well, I just thought you might think that. Y'all, if I didn't see, actually know, he gave himself away in so many areas, but whatever. But I mean, he's a very good liar and a very good manipulator. And I mean, it was really weird because when he was saying all this to me, I almost believed him. I had seen it with my own eyes, and I still was like, and I'm like, no, it was pretty crazy. So he had changed her name in his phone was Carl, trying to pretend like it was a guy. I mean, not that I ever went through his phone and literally never did. If I hadn't walked by, I would have never, ever, ever known. So, and he asked me one time, I was like, I have a feeling I know what this is about. He was like, do you think it's weird that I don't send emojis on text? And I'm like, what? And he's like, some contractor asked me about that. And I'm like, I think it's weird that a contractor would ask you that. Like he was this whole made up this whole story about some contractor asking. No, it was Carl. So that's her nickname. That's we still call her that to this day, Carl the contractor. I think she's long gone. No, I know she's long gone because he's engaged to somebody else now. Don't know what happened to her. My attorney had advised me not to let him know that I knew that. She's like, let's just keep that in our back pocket. Not that a judge would care that much, but where he's lied about it so much. And I have receipts for everything. Everything I say, I have receipts for. So I don't know how I kept my mouth shut, but somehow I did. And so that was Carl the contractor. So we were finally moving out of our house. And I think, you know what? Yeah, I got it literally right now. Okay, I got to go back to work. So we'll get into be part 5 for the next thing.
For Mackenzie? Great. All right, we're here. Have a good one.
2 weeks ago today, my husband and I celebrated our 5-year wedding anniversary, which also marked 5 years that I've been no contact with my mom, if that says anything. And she actually reached out to me for my 30th birthday, and I figured I would share what she said. So she texted me on my birthday at 5:27 p.m. You have to know my mom to understand that most of everything that she does is intentional. So like in her eyes, she was probably like, oh, she's on her way out to dinner. I'm going to text her right now, which is exactly what happened. My husband and I are walking around downtown about to go to dinner, and I get a text message from an unknown number, and I instantly knew that it was her. So I looked at my husband and I go, my mom just texted me. And he goes, well, how do you know it's her? And I was like, I just know. But I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let this ruin my birthday dinner. So I put my phone away and I just ignore it. Well, she texted me again while we were at dinner. So about like 45 minutes after she sent the first message, she's texted me again. So my husband's like, just read it. Here's what she said. Happy 30th birthday. I hope your life is everything you dreamt it to be and hope one day you'll decide to communicate with me. That was the first message. Now, because I didn't open the message and respond, which I was not going to respond anyway, But she texted me again 45 minutes later and said, carrying on the punishment and toxic bullshit is not how you were raised, and you can say what you want, but I don't have anyone. And okay, so that's my fault. I seriously hope you feel like cutting me out completely was worth it. At that point, I was like, I'm not going to continue letting her like text me on my birthday, so I blocked her. So because she can't reach out to me, she reaches out to my brother, who is also low to no contact with her, and texts him and says, I give up, honestly. Between you and your sister, this is straight up abuse and I don't deserve it. I'm moving, and where I'm going, you'll never have to see me again, and I won't bother continuing to reach out to two heartless, selfish, and abusive adults. I know, I was a terrible mom and a terrible friend, and don't deserve the goddamn decency of respect. You are both grown-ass adults that made a choice, and when I'm gone, you'll have to live with that choice, but I refuse to continue begging just to be treated like garbage from both of you. I honestly don't know how either of you live with your fucking selves. What's so funny about it is that she'll reach out with the intention of trying to like make amends and get me to talk to her, but every time she reaches out to me, she says something that just further solidifies why I'm no contact with her. And this is like prime example. She couldn't have just reached out to me on my birthday and said happy 30th birthday, I hope all is well. Okay? No. She has to like go on this tirade about how I'm selfish, I'm abusive, she has no one, woe is me, I was a terrible mother, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you were. So you made your bed and lie in it.
Friday the 13th is this weekend. When I was little, I used to be so afraid I wouldn't even leave the house because I was afraid that someone was going to kill me or I was going to die. Now, Friday the 13th is coming up and I'm like, I hope so.
Hi friends, welcome back to another dating app story. So we haven't met. So today is Saturday, so it's no makeup, no hair, not dressed up. No judgment. Today is my let my face breathe day. So I swiped right on this guy, and good looking, looks younger. He's around my age. I think he's 48. I just turned 46 yesterday. And it was a wonderful birthday, by the way. I got to spend it with my kids. My son in the morning, my daughter at night. Lots of one-on-one time with my kids. It was amazing. Anyways, so we matched. We chit-chatted here and there. I don't get on. It's through Hinge. I don't get on there a lot. I really do have a demanding job that I love very much. And kids are demanding too, just being kids. And dating is not my first priority. So I figure I'll meet who I'm supposed to meet, and it is what it is. So we matched, chit-chatted for a couple days. Like, I would miss his message because it didn't notify me, so I'd message him 2 days later, blah, blah, same thing. He's foreign, so he wasn't born and raised here, still has an accent. And I think culturally, I can't even say that word. He gets it, but he doesn't know all of like the slang and all of things like that. So cool. I'm open for whatever. He's a different nationality. I'm fine with that. He wanted to get my number. I said fine. He had no red flags. We texted for a few days. Then he called. He wanted to call. He wanted to chit chat. I'm like, making the effort. So made the effort to chit chat on the phone. Went very well. He thought my sense of humor was funny. We had a good talked about her childhood, talked about just very open, very, whatever. And then all of a sudden he said, so I have to ask you something. Okay. He said, well, when I see my kids, I have to go to their mothers and see them. And I'm like, he's like, does that bother you? I'm like, no. I mean, I was like, I'm actually probably one of the few people that are okay with that, because that's how me and my ex-husband were for a long time, and he was dating somebody else and she was fine with it, and we're actually friends now and get along and everything's fine. Like, just because you're at each other's houses does not mean there's something going on. I think that's great that you don't hate each other. Like, that's not good for the kids either. If there's bitterness, I believe there's still feelings. So I'm like, well, like if you just go over and see her every once in a while, not her, but the kids, or help with the bedtime routine or whatever, that's fine. I'm thinking he takes them out and does whatever he wants in the evening, because he said, well, we decided that it was best if they always stayed at her house, so I got an apartment close so I could see them. So you don't have your kids ever overnight. He's like, no. I'm like, oh, okay, like, not my business. So made it sound like it was just they got along, they just didn't work out, and he sees them there sometimes not, whatever. After talking, we talked a couple more times on the phone. Very good conversation, like very interesting, good looking guy, no red flags, like none. However, I have since found out, still no red flags on personality, seems great. The whole 4 of them, the 2 kids and the mom and him, do a lot of things together. He'll go to her house and make dinner for them all. Okay. Going to see fireworks. I dare not ask if all 4 of them are going, because I'm pretty sure it is. And he'll talk about things that they don't agree on with the kids, but he's not allowed to say anything. It seems like she has control over the child situation, which I would say he doesn't have a criminal record. He has a job. He has a nice car. It seems like he's doing well for himself. So court-wise, he should be able to have the kids 50-50. So it seems like she's very controlling is what I'm getting from it. But I'm not asking questions because it's not my business. But it's a red flag for me. What if we were dating? Would she control our relationship? Would she control if we are allowed to have the kids with my kids? Is she going to control? Like, that to me is no, that's not happening. I would never do that to my ex. I do not control when he can see my son or who is around my son. At the beginning, yes, I wanted to meet girlfriends or whatever the case was. We made an agreement that we would meet girlfriends, boyfriends before we'd introduce them to our son. But now, no. So I get if she would want to meet me first, that would be okay, but not to control the whole situation. So last weekend, he had said, we can hang out or whatever, meet up for the first time. And so I texted him and was like, hey, are you still wanting to meet up on Sunday? And he was like, well, I can't. I'm doing this, or this. What about next Saturday? And I said, okay, I'll check my calendar. So I messaged him yesterday morning, which would have given a day and a half before we would hang out. Are you still waiting to meet up Saturday? And he read the message because he has his read receipts on. And I didn't hear from him until like 6 p.m. that night. I messaged him at like 9:30, 10 a.m. because I wanted more than 24-hour notice to get a babysitter. Like, that's respectful. And I put my foot down. Could I find a babysitter in a few hours notice? Yes, I could. Will I? No. My time is more precious than that. And I'm not gonna just drop everything and make plans with you because you now have time for me, or your ex gave you time with me. I don't know what the case is. Oh, and side note, I said, is she dating? And he goes, no. Okay. So he texted me last night at 6 p.m. and said, I have a pre-engage, or I have an obligation tomorrow night. What about afternoon? And I sat there and finally messaged back. I mean, if it took you 9 hours to get back to me, like 9 hours, and we didn't talk about anything, there was nothing. And I said, that's a little short notice for me to be able to find a babysitter. Maybe another time. And then he said, breakfast with a question mark. That's even sooner. That's even less time. I didn't answer. And then he said, no worries, I understand. So he's still wanting to talk and text and stuff. And I get it. Like, he's a nice guy. I'm fabulous. Like, I'm joking saying I'm fabulous, but I don't have baggage. I don't have a crazy baby daddy. Like, my one baby daddy, my son is almost 16. Like, I have no drama. I have nothing. And my I don't have a baby daddy with my daughter. I am her only parent. Well, she has her bio mom. So she tells everybody she has 2 moms. So they probably think that I'm a lesbian, which, whatever. I don't care what people think. And so yeah, that's where I'm at right now. And I don't foresee this working. Like, I have too much I don't know. My bullshit meter doesn't want to deal with bullshit. And I'm definitely not going to be bossed around by another female. That's not happening. Like, you need to get, I mean, a normal relationship, you have your kids 3 days, they have 4 days, or whatever the case may be, and you can do what you want on those other days. And it seems like he's, the other night, she was having problems getting this one to bed, so I went over and helped. She's controlling you, and you're so running to her aid. So I'm always going to be on the back burner. Yes, I should always come after someone's kids. Always. Grown kids, young kids, it doesn't matter. Your kids come first. But not your ex. That you're not going to run from a date when she can't get him to bed or anything. So tell me if I'm overreacting or if I'm underreacting. He's so nice and good looking and no red flags on personality or anything, but this is a huge red flag for me, and I just don't think it's going to work out. So let me know what you think, and thanks for listening to my extremely long story, and have a good day. Bye.